Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining today. This is the last session of the teachers training. Yes, good evening. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Rakia. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Your welcome. It's been a beautiful time, for the past couple of days that we've started this journey. And I'm glad to announce that this is the last day of the training. So beautiful. I hope you're excited. Can I say excitement? Can I say excitement? Yes, 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 yes. If the journey has been worth it for the couple of days, past days till now, oh yes, so excited. Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm also excited. And more particularly, I'm excited with our speaker for today as well. Just before I read her profile and before I invite her, um, to speak before she takes the session, I'd just like to state that our speaker for today, I've known her for quite some time, and I've seen the beautiful things that she's doing. I know some of you on this call also may know her. You probably have seen some of her work. She's doing a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. Diligence is quite really inspiring. The milestone that she's covering. I mean, she's come a long way as well. And it's really, really encouraging, as we'll be learning from her today. Suffice to mention that we were classmates, at some point at the university. So we've come a long way. And I'm delighted every time I see what she's doing. I'm just delighted. I'm just delighted. It's always good when you see your friends and colleagues doing well. I'm delighted, and I'm so happy that she has also honored our invitation today to come and join this year's session of teachers training. So permit me to read her profile. So our speaker for today is Kemi Ogunsanya. Kemi Ogunsanya is a multifaceted educator with a remarkable career spanning more than 9 years and encompassing diverse roles within the education sector, such as being a pastoral coordinator, literacy tutor, school supervisor, school editor, educational radio show host, and so on. She's also an apologies, the network logged me out on the other call. So I'll just read on the profile here. She's also an instructional designer who has created multiple courses and resources for educators and students. A columnist with educational articles published in leading newspapers and magazines. She has been a recipient of awards and recognition such as the Classroom Design Excellence Awards presented by CME Foundation, Nigeria, for having the most outstanding classroom design of the year. She was also a finalist at the Active Citizen in Education Award by Noble Missions Group, as well as being a brand ambassador to Twinkle Educational Company due to her advocacy and exemplary use of classroom technological tools. She was a finalist at the 2023 Inspirational Educator Awards organized by Middle Hall Foundation. Kemi has spearheaded several innovative programs in the education sector and holds a reputation as an inspirational figure in the sphere of education and community development. Please, with excitement, in the chat box, please, can you join me as I welcome Kemi Ogunsanya to take the session? You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you can hear me clearly. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, 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 I can hear you.
Okay, so I think good to go. I just want to share my screen, so please give me a second to do that. All right, everyone. Good evening. It's a very big pleasure being here today. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji, for this opportunity. I count it a very, very big privilege to be here today, and I want to celebrate everyone, every educator that is here, everyone who has signed in, registered, joined in the session for today. So I celebrate you for your commitment to learning, your diligence to grow. So let's put our hands together for ourselves. I know we're virtual, but you can still clap for yourself, or maybe just use the chat box to drop an emoji and you clapping for yourself. So I want us to actually clap for ourselves. Let's celebrate ourselves. Okay, so going to, okay, I see Grace Musa celebrating as well. I need us to mention. Okay. All right, so I'll just be going straight into what we have for today. The topic is student-centered learning. Student-centered learning. And I crafted out a subtitle for this particular topic, and it's a path to engaged and effective education. Now, over the last 9 to 10 years of being in the classroom, one thing I've always focused on is ensuring that my students have an engaging learning experience, because for me, I believe that learning should be fun. Learning shouldn't be boring, regardless of the subject it is that I'm teaching at any particular time. And so one thing I've done over the years is to ensure that my classrooms are student-centered. And that's what I'll be exploring today. What exactly is student-centered learning? We all hear all of this big drama in education, oh, pedagogy, student-centered, taxonomy. We all hear all of those things, but what do they really mean? How do we get to implement them within our classrooms? That's what I'll be exploring today. Okay, but before I kick off, I have a little starter activity on the screen. I hope you can see it. So I'm going to put up these boxes on the screen. When you see it, I want you to guess the 9-letter word that can be formed or created using those letters, and then you put it in the chat box. So look at the letters on the screen. There are 9 of them, and they can form one very long word. So once you put it in, okay, thank you. I see someone already got this really fast. Beginning. Okay, that's really good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. There's another one. Who is the first person that is going to get it? Let's check. Yes. There's another one. Who is going to get this? Is there an answer in the chat box? Okay, okay, so I think it's Zainab Kabir that got it first, because it's constant and not constant. Okay, fantastic. Now let's try the final one. Okay, there's still one more. Okay. I think my type it's not Anglican. Okay, so the final one. Let's see. What word can you create from these letters? Quickly. Once I see the answer, I'll move. I can't see the answer yet. Let me see. Therefore, okay, so fantastic. Thumbs up to everyone who has tried this out. All right, so this was just a little starter activity to get us thinking before we move into the main focus for today. And let me mention that this activity that I just did now, it's not just for fun. It's not just because I wanted to do it. It's because it's one of the ways to build a student-centered learning environment, the use of starter activities. So what does a starter activity mean? A starter activity means that you walk into the classroom and the first thing is not bring out your English notes, bring out your maths notes, bring out your, this is the topic we have today. You just dive straight into it. No, sometimes you need a starter activity, okay, to bring everyone together. Your starter activity can be anything, okay? It can be something like a riddle, it can be something like a question, it can even be the way you enter the class. Maybe you enter the class even dancing or moving your body or something. The starter activity can be anything that the interest of your learners. For me, I have a bank. There are many ways I used to begin my classroom. It's glitching. Hello, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay. So sorry about that. I'll just continue. I think I had a slight issue with my network. Now, as I was saying earlier, I have different starter activities that I use to kickstart my lessons. So this particular thing you see right now, this particular quiz you see on the screen is something I actually use for my learners. So I work with children and I have things like this. I have a lot of slides like this. Some of them are like this, some of them are riddles, some of them are questions, some of them are critical thinking activities, just many things that I always use as my first slide before I move into the main lesson. Sometimes you notice that you step into a classroom and the students are already tired. They're already, dull. Maybe for those of us that teach lessons that can be after break time when school is almost over. At that time, a lot of students are tired. And then you walk in and you just want to start teaching. They're already tired. Sometimes they're not ready to absorb it. But when you use a starter activity that brings everyone, together, everyone thinking, it just helps to make the class more lively and more student-centered. Okay, so I'll just move on really fast. So let me ask a question. What does learning mean to you? So I want us to use one word to describe what learning means, and I want us to put it in the chat box. One or two words. What does learning mean to you? When you hear learning, what does it mean to you? So I want to say at least 10 to 15 responses before I move forward. Someone says more volume. Can you hear me, everyone? Please let me know. I just want to be really sure that you can hear me. Okay, I see the meant. Another person is saying gaining knowledge. Responses, what does learning mean to you? Love finding out.
Sorry, we can't hear anything. I don't know. Can others hear anything, please?
Okay, hello everyone. Please, can you hear me? I was having a network challenge and I had to switch to another network to help my connectivity. So is it better now? Can you hear me now, please?
Very loud and clear.
All right, fantastic. So sorry about that. Okay, so I see some of the responses in the chat box. I see what some of us are writing. Fantastic. Acquisition of knowledge, skills, experience, all absolutely correct. But let me ask a particular question. Okay? Now, this is the question. If you attend a particular class today, okay, if you attend a particular class today, and let's say you listen to everything that the teacher is actually saying, and 2 weeks after, you can't remember anything that was said in that particular class, do you think learning has actually taken place? So I need the responses in the chat box. Do you think learning actually took place? You attended a particular class, a particular session, you were there, you sat down, maybe you took notes. But 2 weeks after, someone asks you a question that pertains to that particular class, and you just can't remember anything. Do you think learning learning really occurred? Okay. So I see a lot of no's. Now the truth is that learning that is sustainable, learning that will stick to you, is learning that comes with an experience. Okay, learning that comes with an experience, learning that is not just you listening, opening your ears just because you're seated at learning and listening. Now, I believe that learning has to do with engagement. Okay, engagement is a key word for me when it comes to learning. And I think it should be for all of us as teachers, engaging our students in the best ways possible. All right, so let's move forward to our focus today, which is student-centered learning. Now, what does student-centered learning actually mean? When you hear student,
You're muted.
Oh, so sorry about that. Okay, so when you hear student-centered learning, that has to do with focusing on the needs of students, on their abilities, on their interests, and their learning styles. So it's not just about you teaching because that is what is in the curriculum, because that is the topic in your lesson notes, but because there's a need that should be met. Now, also realizing what the abilities of the students are, what their interests are, what exactly will interest them. For example, if you're working with little children, maybe in the nursery classroom, primary classroom, there's a way the lesson should be structured in a way that it has just a lot of fun elements. Because at that age, that's what really gets to them, not just a boring class where they have to sit down for 40 minutes or 45 minutes and just listen. They want to be engaged, they want to be part of it. They want songs, they want to move around, they want to touch, they want to feel, they want to be a part of the lesson. Okay, and that's what student-centered learning is about. Now, student-centered learning absolutely contrasts with everything. I mean, I think for our generation, for everyone within the age bracket of, do I say 30 to 50 and above currently, growing up for some of us, it was the traditional teacher-centered learning approach we were familiar with. Go to the classroom, memorize timetables, just the regular kind of teaching. Well, maybe not everybody, but I think for some of us, that was the case. We were just very familiar with that traditional teaching approach. But gone are those days. I mean, we're in the era where learning should be fully engaging. Now, I noted this point here just a few minutes before I started this session because it's something that caught my attention. And it's the fact that in a student-centered classroom, you're not just teaching a subject, okay? You're teaching the students to be lifelong learners. That means it's not just about that particular lesson. You want them to be able to recall that concept much later, and they can still associate it with something. That's the concept of a student-centered learning classroom. Now, this picture over here, I want someone to just drop something in the chat box. What do you think is happening over here? What do you think is happening here? Something is happening here, and I want us to just think, critical thinking, right? What do you think is happening here? When I see at least 1, 2, 3 responses, I'll move ahead. Okay, I think I see someone saying she's learning to drive. What else? What else? What do you think is happening here? Learning with practical experiences. I love that. That is so profound. A lady learning to drive. Thank you. All great ideas. Anyone else? Just one more and I'll move on. Just one. Teaching her to drive. Fantastic. Now, this picture here absolutely summarizes, I think, everything regarding student-centered learning. Now, this lady is really learning how to drive, and the person there is the instructor, coordinating, making sure that things are going right. Yeah, but he has put her on the driving seat. He's not the one driving. He's not the one holding the steering, but sometimes he might need to hold it to guide her. That's how driving lessons are, right? The person teaching you will lead you, but sometimes the person helps you hold the steering. At least I think that was at my own driving class. Was the person is there to guide you in case you want to make a wrong turn, you want to, you just want to veer off path. The person is there to lead you, to guide you, but the person is not taking over the wheel from you. That is what student-centered learning is about. It's not just about one person taking the wheel, and it's the person that coordinates the entire driving from one destination to the other, because that's what we are used to. Okay, the teacher stands in front of the class like the author and finisher of the classroom, and the teacher just takes over, explains the topic, dictates the notes. The teacher does everything, and when it's done, he packs his book, he leaves the class. But it shouldn't be like that, because students should be given the room to actually direct the learning process. How do we actually do that? I'm going to explore that as we continue. We all know the concept of co-piloting. Usually in most planes, going for long distances, will always have two pilots, right? They're co-piloting, and maybe one is just there to watch out for the other one, or maybe they make switches. I'm not sure, but usually I know that for some long distance flights, we usually have two. You usually have the co-piloting system. Now, student-centered learning. When you think of student-centered learning after this class, this is what I want you to think about. Okay, the teacher being there, coordinating, acting as the facilitator, but not actually the one taking over the wheel from the student. Sometimes people come. I've heard someone say that the traditional approach of teaching is such that when you step into the classroom, you actually stop learning. What you do is that you're just being taught. The traditional learning system is a system of swallow down everything the teacher says. Just swallow it down. Don't participate. Don't ask questions. Just swallow it down. And really, that shouldn't be what it should be. Okay, so let me move on really fast. The concept of student-centered learning has to do with learning and engagement, and I like to use this, this picture, because it just relates to student-centered learning. Now, think of the student, think of the teacher, think of the content to be taught. There must be a close relationship between these three. Okay, and student engagement is the most important thing. Yes, we talk about students connecting with teachers, teachers connecting with students, but it's is it a symbiotic relationship? Where are the science people? Anyway, it's a relationship that is just, it must be well coordinated for your lessons to go well. Between the students and teachers, there should be that good relationship that makes them want to actually listen to you. The teacher must be competent, that's important, okay? The teacher must be coming forward with relevant content. And let me say something. One of the things that build student-centered learning experiences is helping students to see the relevance of what they're actually learning, helping students to see the relevance of what they're actually learning. Please let me know if you can still hear me. I'm so sorry that my connection has been fluctuating, but I'll just go ahead. I think you can hear me. Okay. One of the things that helps to build student engagement and student-centered learning is helping to make sure that students know that what they're learning is actually relevant. Why am I learning letter writing? I will tell you, okay? You're writing it because, I mean, one day you're going to need to write a formal letter, maybe to get a job or something. You would use the same steps you're learning right now. Why am I learning this? Why am I learning that? We must have that, you must have that ability to show students the relevance of everything they are learning at every point. Otherwise, there's no way to really connect to them and engage with them if they know that what they're learning is actually not relevant for the world out there. So let's try to always link what we are teaching to the real world out there. You're teaching profit and loss. Why don't you link it to the real world out there? Okay, the world of business. You're teaching addition and subtraction. Why don't you use our naira and dollar and different currencies just to help students understand the relevance of content? That's how to build engagement. Okay, let me run as fast as I can. Wow, 30 minutes already. Okay, so let's look at it. What are the key features of student-centered learning? Number one is personalized learning. When I say personalized learning, someone is going to ask me, does it mean that I should be teaching everybody one by one by one? No. It's about understanding what the needs and interests of the students are, and then tailoring what you want to learn to them. The next one is active engagement. Let students be engaged somehow, whether they're asking questions, whether they're moving around, let them just be active engagement. That doesn't make the class just seem like, everywhere is just silent. I think I'll say this at this point. People say that a silent classroom is a classroom that is well managed and organized. Is that really true? Is that really, really true? I need someone's opinion. A silent classroom is a well-managed classroom. I think we should share our ideas. What do you think? A silent classroom is a well-managed classroom.
I think the network may have locked you out again. We can't hear you. Okay, you're muted now.
Okay, so I saw one or two responses before my connection threw me out again, but I saw someone saying no. Anyway, gone are the days when you think that, oh, a silent classroom is the classroom that is the best. As a matter of fact, let me tell you that when I joined the school I was working in previously, there was something they used to do there called Class of the Week, and they will give awards for classrooms that are very quiet and well managed and neat and all of that. And then they'll give the teacher something. They'll also give the student a particular gift. And when I came in, I told myself, and I told the people around me that don't worry, I'm not interested in this. I don't think I want to win it. And they were surprised. They were thinking, oh, does it mean that your class will always be disarranged? Does it mean that my class will? They were wondering why I said I'm not here to compete for that. That's not what I want. Because I said, you know what, my classroom will not be quiet. My students will not sit in a place. My students will walk around, they will talk, they will jump, they will dance, they will make noise, in fact, but positive kind of noise. And that was it for me. And so the truth is that I wasn't even looking out for any award or anything. I was just doing my own thing, making my classrooms engaging, lively. And you know what? A while after, maybe months after, it came to a particular time when I actually even got that, got the old teacher or class of the week prize. So it's for me, engagement is really key. Let's look at some myths that are surrounding student-centered learning. I'm so sorry that my video isn't on. I think that might be what is affecting my connection, so I just sort of turned it off. Okay, what are some myths surrounding student-centered learning? Number one is that teachers lose control in a student-centered classroom. Some people feel that, oh, when your classroom is student-centered and your students are moving up and down, interacting, the teacher will lose control. How would the teacher keep everybody calm? How would the teacher keep everybody in control? Now, the truth is, it's all about planning and how well you manage the space that you have. Okay, you can put some students in control of the other students. So maybe a group of 5, a group of 10, you know the person that is the most responsible one in that group. That person is leading the group. The person is controlling and being a mini teacher in that group. So teachers will not actually lose control if it's well planned. Another thing is some people feel that student-centered learning is maybe only for advanced students or students that are older. No, it works for any kind of student. Some people feel it's too time consuming. Not at all. It's all about managing the time that you are 40 minutes, 50 minutes. There's no time that is actually too short. So if you tell me that I have a 15 minutes class and I want to implement student-centered learning, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to use my first 1 to 3 minutes to build engagement with the students. Whether I use a starter activity, or I use something, I'm going to use something to get that student into what I'm about to teach. After I do that for the first 3 minutes, I explain my concept or topic for the next 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, I find out what the student has learned, building interaction or question. I continue a little bit of explanation again. I add some interaction to it, and within the 15 minutes, my lesson will actually be student-centered. Okay, and the final point on this particular slide is that students don't learn as much in a student-centered classroom. Again, that is not true, because when you get students engaged, whatever they learn actually sticks to them. I want you to think about the class that you found most engaging when you were growing up. I know you won't be able to remember all of the lessons, everything you learned, but there might be this particular lesson that when you remember it, you can see everything you learned in that particular class. Why? Because the teacher did something that was really engaging. For me, it's a math lesson that I had in SS3 many years ago. I still remember, I didn't like math so much, but I still remember that lesson because it was fun. The teacher used to make this kind of songs with different mathematical equations, and it just used to get me really excited. So I remember that particular lesson. If you look at this picture, I wanted us to drop some comments, but because of the time, I want to run. If you look at this picture and look at the expressions and mannerisms that these students have, you would find out that they seem kind of bored. What are they doing? They're just, one of them is opening his textbook. Maybe the teacher said, open your textbook, open to page 5, look into it. The other one, maybe she's copying a note. The teacher said, I'm dictating, everybody writes. So this setting doesn't seem so engaging to the students. How do we get the lessons engaging and student-centered? What I want to do right now is show you a lot of examples or some examples of what I've done in my own classroom to make my learning student-centered, to make my teaching, to make my work with the children that I teach student-centered. And I want you to know that it's not just look at how you can apply it to your own context. Some people will say, oh, in my own school, we don't have whiteboard. In my own school, we don't have this. It's fine, but just learn through the things that I want to share. If you don't work in a school that has facilities that you really want, who knows, someday you might be working in that dream school of yours. So let me just go through this slide. Now, for example, this particular picture you see on the screen was me. So that day, the students were going to read a particular story or comprehension passage about a character. So what did I do? 2 days earlier, I took a cardboard paper. I painted the face of that character. I put a rope inside it and I made it into something like a little dress, what you see me wearing. So when I came into school that day, I wore this thing on my body. I don't know if you can see it clearly because it's a bit small, but The yellow image you see, I wore it on my chest. There was a rope around it, and I wore it. So when the students came into school that day and they saw me looking funny, they were wondering, what am I wearing? What is this thing? You know, all of them were startled and excited. What is this, Miss Kemi? Who is this? They were just wondering how I came about it. But again, because I knew that lesson was going to happen, I had done it at least in collaboration with the art teacher. Let me give him his credit. And from that point, I had already built excitement. So all of them were looking forward to the reading class, to the comprehension class. What's going to happen today? They were looking forward to me coming to their classes. I teach about 4 classes, but I didn't have one of the classes that day. So some of them were wondering, is it for our own class? They were just wondering, what it was about. And that day, so yes, when they opened their comprehension books, they realized that this character that I'm wearing on my body was actually the character they were learning about. And as children, they all screamed and they were all happy and all that. If you also notice, I took them away from the classroom. I brought them to the playground. That also made them super excited. You might say in your school, oh, I don't have playground, I don't have this. Is there another spot in the school that people don't really use or people don't stay that you can take them to? All right, let me move forward really fast so I can show you more approaches. Again, all of this is building a foundation. This is another way I try to implement a student-centered scenario in my teaching. So in this particular class, again, we were reading, I think it was reading and also creative writing. And the students read a story in their books about a child that visited a particular office. I think it was maybe United Nations office or the White House, something like that. But I wasn't just going to allow them to read it and just answer the questions. I wanted them to actually see that place, see what it looks like. And so what I did was to go online, get a picture, get a video. I displayed it to them and tried to make the learning come alive for them. Let them actually see that it goes beyond reading that passage. This is what the place looks like. I'll move to the next scenario again of building student-centered learning, making them engage. So this particular incident on the screen, I was teaching the students about paragraphing, how to make a paragraph. And I taught them before that there are 3 layers to a paragraph, okay? When you start with your beginning sentence, the one in the middle, closing sentence, I taught them all of that. Please, can you hear me? The network is
yes.
Now, when I walked into the classroom that day, I walked in with a piece of burger. And the students were wondering, what is this burger for? You can tell me you can say, okay, where I work, I don't have burger. You can use bread and akara. Yes, you can get bread and akara anywhere. I just took that piece of burger to the classroom. And when I took it into the classroom, the students were wondering. You can see one of the students stretching her hand, wanting to grab the burger out of my hand. All of them were jumping up and down. But again, I just used it to explain to them the concept of paragraphing. A piece of burger has 3 layers. There's the upper part, there's the middle part, there's the lower part of the burger. So I just used it to explain to them, Let me move forward again. I hope it's not my slide acting up. Okay. Yes, this is another student-centered scenario that I've implemented in my classroom. This time it was a creative writing class. I know I'm using a lot of examples that have to do with English and literacy, but again, I just want you to learn and try to implement it within your own context and within your own environment. I just want you to see that we can be creative with learning in different ways. Now, what can you see on the screen? Let me explain this to you. So for this lesson, the students were writing instruction text. This kind of text that they say, oh, how to do this, how to do that. They were learning how to do that in creative writing. But beyond just doing it in creative writing and learning how to write steps and procedures, what I actually did for the students was that one of the lessons actually told them to make something. They had already brought the items earlier, and I told them, bring paper, bring cardboard, bring anything, bring it to class. We're not just going to learn how to write instruction text and procedures. We're also going to learn how to use procedures to make things. Oh, the students wanted to show off their creativity. You can see these things on the screen. I think one is a bird, the other one, I don't know if it's a worm or something else. Another one, made this cardboard paper. She said, what did she call it? I think she said it's a table. She can put her books inside it on the table or something like that. Again, it was a way to get everyone busy and lively. The students don't sleep in this class because everybody is working. Everyone is cutting papers or doing something. Everyone is engaged. Okay, so I have another scenario here, but because of time, I don't know if I can go through everything. Wow, 5:45 already. Okay, so I think I'll take one final one before I move on. Okay, so what you see again on the screen is, so this particular lesson, it was another reading or comprehension class, something like that. And the story they read that day was about a blindfold treasure hunt. I'm sure we all know what I mean. When you blind someone's eye and then the person has to search for something on the floor. So after we had read the passage, we had answered the questions. I had to squeeze out some 5-7 minutes to quickly take them again downstairs to the playground to actually implement a blindfold treasure hunt. So if you look very well, you may see the balls I put on the floor. I use their cardigans and any clothes that we had there. I used it to cover their eyes just to make it interactive. I believe that sometimes in the future, if you ask these students or anywhere they're doing blindfold treasure hunts, these students may remember this experience and the lesson that they had. I have more examples, but I want to run at this point. I think I should actually even fly. Okay. What are the benefits of student-centered learning? Of course, it improves engagement. When students are invested in what they are learning, in what they're doing, they are interested. What do I mean by that? When you let them know that, see, I don't know everything. I want you to actually learn. I want to know what you know. Okay? When you make them feel that they are part of the lesson, it helps to build that engagement. Another thing is student-centered learning encourages independence. Students can take ownership of their learning process. They can do things by themselves. Using the student-centered learning approach will also promote teamwork and critical thinking. You can see the example I showed earlier where the students were doing things by themselves. All of that in a student-centered learning environment, you would experience collaboration, critical thinking, and more. Okay, I believe that as a teacher, for you to have a student-centered learning approach, you must build the listening skill in your students. What does that mean? You must be able to do things that will make students actually listen to you. What do you think some classrooms are really boring, and yet the teacher is an expert? I don't know if you've seen scenarios like that before, where the teacher is so good. The teacher is the best math teacher in the school. The teacher has the content knowledge. But when the teacher walks into the classroom, sometimes the students are bored because the listening skill has not been built. Okay, how can you cultivate the listening skill? You can use music, you can use songs. Some of us remember HIP for the hip, PO for the, what's that song? That's how some of us actually learned how to spell hippopotamus and other songs. Let me look for another song again that we used to learn something. I'm trying to think of one right now, but it's not coming to my mind. But I'm sure we all know all of these songs that we used to learn formulas, equations. Science students used to have this song for there's this science thing I know that when I was in school, they used a song to help them memorize the different steps to it. Anyway, as a teacher, you can use songs, you can even formulate it, you can go online. You can tell me that in my own school, there's no speaker, there's no this. You can learn the song from your house and come to school to teach the students just to get them, buzzing. Let me see if I can play this. Yes, thank you, Tolu Helen. I see that 1, 2, buckle my shoes, 3, 4, knock at the door, all of that to teach numbers. Thank you. Okay. I just want to play this for 1 minute. I hope you can actually hear and see it. And I hope my network isn't misbehaving. Okay, so I don't want to continue because of our time, but whenever I teach adverbs, I usually teach adverbs using this particular song. And you will see the students get up, they'll be doing rock and roll as if they're playing the guitar and all of that, and everybody is singing along. I've mastered this song over the years. So I don't need, if you take me into a classroom in a rural community where there is no speaker, there is no whiteboard, there is nothing there, I can still use this song to engage them. I can sing it and get everybody to learn it because it's something that will help you learn adverbs. It just sticks because the song is fun. Okay. I need to move fast. I think I'll share my slides afterwards so we can all see some of these things. I want to close out in about 5, 6 minutes. I don't know how possible that is, but I'll rush them. Okay, what's another way to cultivate listening skill to build a student-centered learning environment? Using visual prompts. All of us know that. Beyond just saying, oh, the school did not buy us this, the school did not buy you that. What can you actually make by yourself? You can see the paper and cardboard I showed you that I used in the case I shared earlier on. It doesn't have to be always, the school did not give us that. The school, what can you do? What can you use the pieces of paper around you for? What can you use the bottles around you for? It's about creativity. So visual prompts help our students to listen to us, thereby building student-centered learning experiences. Another one can be role playing and dramatization. So you're an agri teacher, you want to teach modernization, you want to teach maybe traditional farming and maybe modern systems of farming, something like that. You could have 2 groups of students. Maybe one person is role playing or dramatizing the traditional approach, one person is dramatizing the modern approach. You will find out that the students are engaged. They want to watch, they want to laugh, they want to talk. Okay, role playing is a very valid way to engage students and build student-centered learning experiences. For me, as a literacy teacher, I use it all the time. If we read any story, we will act it out when we're done. We usually do a lot of role playing in my classrooms. Using interactive games, I'm sure we all know this, so I don't want to overemphasize this. Storytelling. Storytelling is another way to build the listening skill and build student-centered learning experiences. What does this mean? You're teaching a particular topic. You can start by just storytelling. It doesn't have to be true. You can make it up. I'm not saying you should lie or make it up. For example, I want to teach students about addition and subtraction. I can tell them, do you know what happened? Yesterday, I went to the market and I gave the person 50 naira, and everything I bought there was 30 naira. But the person gave me only 10 naira change. Do you think that's correct? Let's add it together. Let's see if it is correct. It's just storytelling. Did I really go to the market? Maybe, maybe not. But storytelling helps your students to buy into what you're learning, regardless of what you're teaching. You're teaching economics, you're teaching agri, you're teaching math, you're teaching science. There can be a story that also helps them to connect better to what you're teaching. Okay, using acronyms. Acronyms are short forms. You can use acronyms to build student-centered learning experiences. An example is it Mr. Niger D? I don't know if that thing has changed. Has it changed now? Is it still Mr. Niger D? Or has it changed to something else? Anyway, I know that was what we used to learn the movement, is it respiration? What was the N again? Was it nutrition? Something like that. Using acronyms, there are so many things we've all learned. I'm very sure of that. Using acronyms. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so I need everyone. Oh, it's now Mr. Niger T. Really? Okay, that means I went to school a long time ago. All right, so one thing learned so far. I need everyone to put in one thing you've learned so far before I go into the final stage of this session. Just one thing you've learned so far. Mr. Yadeji, how many minutes do I have more so I can keep a track of myself? Okay, I need to see our responses. One thing you've learned.
About 10 minutes.
Hello. Okay, all right, that's fine. I need to see our responses. I need to drop in the chat box something you've picked so far from this learning before we move forward. There must be something you've picked, something about how to build student-centered learning experience. Yes, yes, yes. I need to see our responses. Otherwise, we're not moving forward and we're not leaving here. So let me see. Okay, I see 3, 4 responses. I need to see more before I move forward. If not, we're all gonna stay here. Okay, yes, I see everyone dropping the feedback, but I still believe there are more of us. There are about 35 or yes, so the responses should also be up to that before I move on. Okay, because of time, I'll move on, but I just wanted to be sure that I'm carrying everyone along to an extent. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the concept of differentiation. I'm sure a lot of us have read about this before. I can't really go into it in depth because of the time. But again, differentiated instruction is something that brings about student-centered learning. Again, it's about ensuring that students are carried along, their abilities, their learning styles, all of that. Someone is going to ask me that in a 40 minutes classroom, how do you carry along everyone? I understand that. I totally understand that. Now, if you're using this approach or strategy in today's class, in the next class, you can use another strategy. It's about varying the way you teach so that the students don't just know, yeah, this is how you always come inside the class. This is how you always leave. They know what you will do. Be unpredictable sometimes as a teacher. Go out of your shell, go out of your box to be unpredictable sometimes, to do interesting things in the classroom. Okay, when it comes to differentiation, to build student-centered learning, you can differentiate the content. What does this mean? You can vary the content level of what students are learning based on their understanding. So you can use different kinds of examples to teach a particular topic. This example can resonate with this person. Another lower example can resonate with another person. You can vary that, okay? You can vary the process through which you teach, how students engage with what they are learning. You can also differentiate using products. What does this mean? Your platform does not always have to be right. List, explain, summarize. It doesn't always have to be that. What of getting creative and telling them to do things, to make things? I teach creative writing, I teach grammar, I teach literacy, but I can tell you that my activities don't just always involve write. No. There are classwork, there are assignments that get the students demonstrating their understanding in different ways. Okay, you can also differentiate your learning environment, and this can only work sometimes when you have space. Some classrooms are really small and you can't, do a lot of things in the environment. But sometimes you can differentiate a learning environment. Sometimes I come into the classroom early, I just adjust some seats and sitting arrangements. That alone, it arouses the interest of the learners. They come into the class and they're wondering, what's happening here today? Why did Miss Kemi change my chair? Why did she do this? It's just building engagement within the learning environment. Okay, I have to still rush, so let me just move forward into the final slides on implementing student-centered learning. Number one is through the use of group tasks. Okay, and when there's something about using group tasks. You don't just create a group of students and tell them, oh, start doing this particular task. Let everybody have a role. This is the person presenting. This is the person that is the timekeeper. Let everybody have a role so that they are carried along. That way, you're not just the one doing everything, standing in front of the class and teaching from the beginning of the class of the 40 minutes is over. Another strategy is think, pair, share. I think some of us might be aware of this, of what this means. Just, putting a question out to the classroom, and you can tell them, okay, share your ideas if the person sitting beside you, or say something, just to ensure that it is not just about you as the teacher. Okay, let me move forward fast. Another way to build student-centered learning is through what is called the question formulation technique. What does it mean? You want to teach a particular subject today. Let the students ask questions related to that topic. Okay, you can guide them to think of questions. So today we're learning about photosynthesis. What are the things you think we should learn about it? Should we learn if there are types of it? Should we learn just making sure that the students are thinking, they're generating maybe questions about the topic that they want to learn for that day? Of course, project-based learning, I don't want to overemphasize it because I believe we are all familiar with it. Now, let me quickly deal with challenges that have to do with student-centered learning before I take a bow. Number one is time management. People will always say, oh, the time is not enough. I believe it's all about planning carefully. Another one is about classroom management, especially when you have large students. As the teacher that wants to implement student-centered learning, you must be firm on your expectations. You must be firm on how you want the class to go. Okay, another way to manage student-centered learning is through the use of assessment. You will notice that during this class, I paused at some point, okay, everybody tell me something you've learned. Everybody drop your opinion about this or that. You don't have to wait till the end of the 40 minutes before you gauge if students have actually understood what you're learning or not. In the midst of the class, you can actually gauge their understanding through different activities. The final one is through the use of technology integration. Of course, there are lots of tools that can be explored. All you need to do is Google digital tools for educators, and you'll just be caught up with so many things. AI is here, ChatGPT is here. There's so many things you can do. Go to ChatGPT and type, I'm teaching this topic today. How can I make it a student-centered learning environment? You'll see lots of ideas. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I've really tried to rush. I believe you've been able to get something, and I believe that when I still share the slides, you'll be able to go through to learn more. But I just want to leave these final points with you as I take a bow for today. A student-centered learning environment is one that is always fun. It's always fun, it's always engaging, and the teacher takes the role of a facilitator, of a coordinator, and students take center stage. So yes, thank you very much, everyone. I believe you've been able to learn something. If you have questions, please let me know. Please let me know. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ayo.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please get your questions ready if you know you have questions. Those of you on YouTube as well as those on Zoom, please have your questions ready. I can see the comments. People on YouTube are so following, as you were teaching. This is very beautiful. There's something very profound even for me that I've learned is about creativity with your teaching aid. That's a beautiful one. Being creative with your instructional designs, whatever it is you're using to teach, that's a take home for me. That's a take home for me. Well done. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful session. And you can see in the chat box, people are saying thank you so very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And on YouTube as well, the comments are coming in. They say thank you so much, ma'am. And they've been dropping the words as you are teaching. Student-centered learning helps the students to interact and build system and build self-confidence. Yes. Please, if you've got questions, I'll probably just entertain. Maybe I'll allow her to entertain maybe 2 questions at the most, if there are questions. Here is the first question. Those of you on YouTube too, if you want to ask your questions, type it. I'm also reading the YouTube comment, but let me read the comment on Zoom right now. So Ogbomo is asking a question. He said, Ogbomo said, thank you so much, ma'am, for the insightful teaching. Please, I'd like to ask, how do we make teaching and learning engaging and experiential? Why teaching? Why teaching students of higher institution and adults? Did you get that, man?
Okay, please, can you go over that again? My network was fluctuating, please.
Okay, sorry about that. So the person, Obama, is asking that for higher learners like adults, how do we make teaching and learning engaging and experiential while teaching students of higher institutions and adults?
Okay, fantastic. So how do you make learning engaging for students of higher institution or adults? Now, if you teach in that kind of setting, most likely you might be using slides or something. You can make your presentation slides engaging. It can be through the use of different kinds of icons. The presentation slide itself, there are some slides you see that when you see them, they're already boring. You just know that this section cannot be interesting. It could be through the use of presentation slides. It could be through building interaction. Just make sure that you're not the one talking for the entire length of the lesson. Throw out questions that will make everybody get into critical thinking and give their opinions. Those are some ways to make the learning engaging, experiential. Even for students of higher institutions, you can bring in some things, what do I call them now? Learning tools. There can be learning aids that actually pertain to higher institutions or much older people that they can relate to. It doesn't have to be what you're using teaching children. But again, what I want us to put at the back of our mind is whether it's children or adults or students of higher institutions, make sure that you're not the one taking the driver's seat for the whole journey of the lesson that you have. Yes, so I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of questions here. I'm not sure we might take call, but let me just read some repeated. So there's another person asking, so how do you achieve student center learning in a large class of 200?
Okay, so how do you student center learning in a large class of 200? I mean, another good question. Now, like I said earlier on, in a large class of 200, you might not have that space to do some things. In fact, group activities in a large class of 200 might be, what do I call it? It might be very hectic. But again, it's possible for you to, in a large class of 200, as a teacher, you must be able to know some students you feel have the ability to lead the others. So in a large class of 200, it's possible for you to actually implement a group task. You just need the very strong students that can help you to coordinate the others. Okay, you know those students that you can say, you manage these 8 people, you manage these 10 people, you manage this group of people, and they can get your work going. In a large class of 200, also make sure you're not stuck standing in front of the class. Yes, because I've actually taught in a setting like that. The class is jam-packed, everything looks stuffy. You want to connect better with them, you must be able to move into the crowd, walk in between them, stop in the middle, stop as you're walking around to connect with people, ask questions, ask for their opinions about different things that you're teaching. So I believe that way it's still possible to achieve some element of student-centered learning.
All right, thank you so much. There are some questions that are similar, so I'll just jump them since it's been answered. But Grace is asking, he said, how can one handle a situation where the main expectation is to just cover course content, copy notes, and give classwork and homework?
Of course, this is usually just the expectation in the regular, should I say the regular Nigerian classroom? This is always the expectation. Just finish the curriculum, teach everything, and make sure the students have the notes. This is the expectation in every classroom. But as teachers, what do? We defy the norm. This is the expectation that the school has of me for every time I also walk into the classroom. But you know what? In the midst of doing all of these expectations, I also, should I say, smuggle in, smuggle in elements of student-centered learning. Yes, I will cover the course content, but I will also make out that little time to ensure that my students are engaged. It's about time management. I've started with a starter activity for 3 minutes. I've explained my content for 10 to 15 minutes. I've done informal formative assessment to check out what the students actually understand. I can have something like a short video or an interactive game or something in the middle of it and still end up by summarizing my content. So it's about time management, like I said. Yeah, so I think I'll move on to the next one. There's another one again.
Okay, yeah, but even whilst you were talking, you've answered the particular question that was asking about time management and activity, but I think you just said it now. So this person is asking, even though I think it's been mentioned maybe in just one sentence, you might say it again. He said, thanks, ma'am, but my question goes like this. Is this method limited to certain class of learners? Because in A-level classes, especially in Nigeria, lecture mode is mostly used. Did you get that?
Okay, yeah, so I see the question in the chat box because in A-level classes, especially in Nigeria, lecture method is mostly used. I quite agree with you that the lecture method is mostly used, but the lecture method also does not put a stamp to it that you must be the one talking for the entire stretch of the class. I do not think so. Okay, it's about a shared learning experience. When I walk into the classroom at every point in time, it's a shared learning experience. I'm bringing my knowledge to the table. My students are bringing their learning to the table. So in as much as it's a lecture method approach, there must also be some elements of the content that can draw interaction for the learners, that should be able to make them at least share their thoughts, their ideas. Do they believe this is true? Do they think that this is the best approach? Things like that, I believe they can be embedded into even the lecture method approach.
All right, thank you so much. There is another question. So what if you give starter activity and the learners were unable to respond in time? Can you move on, looking at each subject as its own time?
Good. So yes, sometimes it can happen and they may not get it. You can move on. You might even say the answer on paper. In fact, about 2 days ago when I was teaching a particular student, I used a particular riddle to start off the class. There were 2 of them there and they were thinking for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and I had to pick up. So I said, you know what, guys, this is what it is. But at least I had aroused their interest. They were all thinking, So I had done that. So you can move on. That's it.
All right. So the final question from Zoom today is, so my question is that student center is more effective with advanced and well-equipped schools. How can one handle student center with some of the government school due to poor facilities and background?
Okay, so I also like this question. And what I'm going to say is that creativity and improvisation is what works here. What does it mean? You can improvise. So, for example, in government, I don't want to say all, but you might be in a school where you don't have technological facilities, you don't have a speaker, you don't have sound, you don't have all of that. Like I said earlier on, in that kind of setting, you don't have to come to the class wanting to play something to the students. You can have learned it already, and then what you do is just come there, you try to engage them with maybe a particular song about a topic that you've already learned. You can improvise with things around you to create visual prompts. You can use the bottles around you to teach a particular concept. I think most times as teachers, we need to look inwards. We need to look inwards when it comes to instructional materials. When I want to teach different topics, I look around me. I don't first think about what the school will buy for me. I think about what is around me that I can actually use to teach that can make this learning engaging. For example, right now in my front, there's a phone. I can take this phone and maybe I want to teach nouns and I'm using it as an example. There's a piece of tissue in my front. I just look at how it can be instrumental to my teaching and learning process. So yes, you might be in a school where there are lack of facilities, but how can you improvise? You can use in your school, they don't give you cardboards, right? Or maybe papers like they do in some other schools. You can use the back of a calendar to design something, get a piece of marker and put something that can be a visual point. So yes, it can be challenging, but creativity will always solve these kind of issues. Yes, so you can also follow the government teachers that are doing exploits. I mean, I wanted to show you the video of Mr. Lasukomi Okpaipa. He's a teacher teaching in a government school with little or no facilities, and he's doing exploits. He has gone on to win lots of prizes for Nigeria. You should not know him. If you don't know him, please follow him on social media. Follow Mr. Lasukomi Okpaipa. Follow Ms. Adeola and Defemi. These are stellar government teachers. They are doing so much with the little that they have. And also follow me too. Thank you.
You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, so I think I'm done with that question. I just want, this particular teacher to be able to understand that there are other government teachers, lots of government teachers in systems that have little facilities and they're doing exploits. Yeah. I hope you also.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Say that again, please. You're muted again.
Okay, I wanted to be sure that you heard the explanations I gave earlier on before I went muted.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So you are muted again. Do you still want to say something? But sincerely, I really appreciate you. It's been a wow session. It's been a wow session. And I look forward to getting the material so that you can also share with the student on the platform. But this is a beautiful, beautiful time to learn new things. And I know like I said, being innovative with your teaching aid is very, very key. And just like you rightly said, it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. We look around us and to simplify it as possible, as way as possible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Please, can you hear me? I appreciate her. That was a beautiful one. I know it takes a lot to put those things together on the PowerPoint. Yes, thank you. And God willing, I hope when we call again, I hope you will answer. You're muted.
Yes, please. I mean, I wish I actually even had more time to delve deeper into some things. So yes, I'll be willing to come back. Thank you.
God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome time. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming to bless us with this insightful teaching. And for all the students, yes, we have come to the end of teachers training LIBL 2024, LIBL Teachers Training 2024. And it's been a beautiful session. I've enjoyed all the sessions with all the speakers, one after another. It's been beautiful. It's been awesome. And for those on YouTube too, yes, everybody said Funmi Lawa, Susie Sani, Adesoye Oluwatosin. Yes, they are all saying thank you. So just a couple of announcements and then we are done here. So just as announced that there will be a test, virtual test. So the link will be sent. You can write the test, but once we send the link, so please, just in case, Kemi, please, are you still there? So I'd like them to have your social media handles just for those who might want to also get to know, to follow you on social media. Please, can you tell us your social media handle?
Yes,
All
so
right.
I actually just dropped a message now for some teachers I want everyone to follow, but you can follow me on Kemi Ogusonya on Facebook, on Instagram, I'm Quintessential Kemi. On LinkedIn, I'm also Kemi Ogusonya. And I hope all of us are actually on LinkedIn and in social media.
Well, yeah, I guess. I hope so too. So we can, so on YouTube, on Instagram is Quintessential Teacher. I believe that's correct, right? And
Yes, on Instagram, Quintessential Kemi. On Facebook and LinkedIn, Kemi Ogusonya.
Kemi Ogunsoya. Awesome. Please, let's connect if you want to follow, to connect with her. Like I said, she's doing wonderful, wonderful job. And as you can see, it's been a beautiful one, a beautiful session thus far. And she has also dropped the names of those that she mentioned earlier, in the chat box on Zoom. So you can also follow them so that we are inspired by one another, we're inspired by one another. That's a beautiful one. Okay, so I was just announcing so the test is coming up this week. During the week, the test will be administered and then you can write the test. And we can start processing the certificate. But like I've announced, the certificate of attendance will only be given for those who score 60% and above. Those who score below 60%, I'm sorry, anything below 60% will not be able to offer a certificate for that. And whatever it is that will be asked is solely completely based on what the speakers, facilitators have taught us, within this space of 1 week. So the materials are still available on YouTube for the next couple of days or maybe even weeks. The LIC training we still have some of the materials on YouTube. And okay, I want to make one request. Please, right now. I know I posted it, but some people are still not following us. I don't know why. If you're not following us on YouTube, please follow us. Follow us on YouTube. Type LIBL Academy. For those of you on YouTube presently, just click on the subscribe button. LIBL Academy. Follow us on YouTube. You see some of the materials on leadership, intelligence course, teachers training, some of the other courses that we've taken or that we are taking or teaching others. So follow us, and then you can also follow us on other social media handles. On Instagram, we are LIBL Academy. On LinkedIn, we are Leadership, Intelligence, and Business Learning Academy. And Facebook, we're also Leadership, Intelligence, and Business Learning Academy. You can teach us. You can follow us. Our motto is build people, people will build system. That has been our slogan. That's our motive. That's our motto. That's our objective, to build people. And we believe that people will build systems. Thank you for joining us and for making this year's edition a successful one. We'll see how many people will be able to scale through. Like I said, we have over 600 people who register for teachers training. And just as I mentioned also, we have teens leadership training coming up next week. It's also free. We are having a training for teenagers. I know you have teenagers in your schools. You have teenagers in your religious gatherings. You have teenagers in your community. It's going to be virtual. Let them take this opportunity and register. The registration closes before the end of this week. So let them register for the Teens Leadership Program, which is also going to be online. I look forward to seeing your students, your siblings, your children, connect to this training. This time, I want to say thank you, and it's been a successful training thus far. Bye-bye.